joining us. So as Nat said, we are doing traditional marketing versus online marketing. Now this is something that is really, I get asked this all the time. What about you, Nat?
Oh, all the time. Actually, probably one of the number one questions that I get asked is how to market your business.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for tonight's session because we've got lots to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to sort of go back and talk about what some of the issues people have. I mean, this is something that, and it's interesting from my point of view because I've been in traditional marketing so much that, I'm an online expert who's done traditional marketing, so I've got to see all the sides and some of the things that some of our clients, complain about and some of the things that they don't really think about. So I think, there's a lot of people who believe that online marketing is the only way to go. What do you think?
Actually, while I've got your attention, let's just remind you guys tonight that this show, the Nat and P show, we're not anything without you guys. So we need your interaction. We want your questions. We actually are here to help you guys and answer any of your questions. And if you want to add anything to the discussion, please do so. We're not here as marketing professionals. We're just here to talk about, in our opinions, what we really think about. And P and I really wanted to do this show tonight because we both actually sing from the same hymn sheet, but we do so in quite a diverse way and often hearing the same thing from different people. It's going to be bloody magic, people. Bloody magic. So strap in. Tonight's going to be amazing.
Yes, no, I'm really excited. It's especially when we sat down and worked out what, a few weeks ago when we worked out what we were going to do for 3. I was really, really excited. I was like, let's get stuck in and do it. So we have been planning our shows well in ahead. We are kind of excited, so if you've just tuned in, next week's exciting as well because we've got our first guest next week. And if you watch to the end of the live, you'll get to find out who that person is because that person is pretty special.
What do you mean? Am I the guest? I'm the guest next week.
So let's jump in. So what are some of the issues that you hear from your clients, my clients, or out in the areas on traditional marketing? Let's start with traditional marketing first. Does it still work?
Well, I reckon, Pete, that you jump in and start answering this question because you have a lot of, you've done a lot of work in actual publications like media, like printed media. So I think it'd be cool to hear from your perspective about traditional.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've worked in a local newspaper in the area. If you haven't heard, I've done a lot of work with local matters, so Hibiscus Matters and Maharangi Matters. From my perspective, I've seen how traditional media has worked. I use personally traditional media as well as online media. And I think it does work. Like I'm a big believer that it does work. I am certainly like most things. You don't do it once. It's repeat, change things up. What do you think? You think they're the same? I mean, there's so many different avenues in traditional media. We've got ads, classifieds, sponsored ads or sponsored editorials or stories. So there's quite a wide, that's just within the newspaper, and then you've got radio advertising obviously, and you've got magazine advertising and community papers and then larger newspapers as well. So there's kind of a lot there to sort of talk through.
It's such a good point actually, P, because traditional marketing, when you're talking about businesses, it's such a broad topic. Do you know? There's not one. I know that you guys watching know this, right? There's not one size fits all, and so there's no hard and fast answers to traditional marketing. But both Pauline and I have had businesses that have had to rely on traditional marketing because there was no goddamn Facebook. Actually, go tell you a quick funny story. I met one of the girls' teachers today, and I said, do you remember typing class? And she looked at me like, no.
Oh, I do.
I suddenly realised how old I was.
Did you have the bibs?
Yes.
Where you had to wear the bibs and you couldn't see? You know what? I have to say, that was one of my best subjects.
I can imagine you'd be good.
Yeah, and shorthand. I was very good at shorthand.
Oh, I've got no idea shorthand. I just do I'm good at text shorthand.
I'm good at text.
So the point of that though is that you and I have had the opportunity to see where traditional marketing had to be used because that's all their frickin' was. Yeah. And then now we've got our businesses that we've been able to take and market online and then use a mix of both of them, right?
That's right.
But I have to say that it's taken me personally a little while to want to bring traditional marketing back into my business, because I catapulted my business online. So I was a little bit like, traditional marketing, you ain't have a space here, but actually it does. So
yeah, I think one of the things that is really important that you need to think about is how you're going to do your marketing. There's a lot of people who don't. One of the traps that I find businesses fall in is when the ad reps come around and you've got no plan. So you will take an ad and you won't think about what you're trying to achieve. What's the point of making the ad? You've just sort of got pressured to do an ad because there's an offer or there's a feature. So these are the things that I think in the beginning of the year that you need to think about. So like Nat, I didn't start my business. My very first business was my Tree Hut Art School. So it was an art school after school. It was awesome. But social media wasn't really well known in the first few years, so I had to use traditional marketing to grow that business. And what I did was I used the local community. I was a brick and mortar. I had one location. And so I used the newspapers to make sure I got really well known. And I managed to do that within the first year, and I got full. So I really was very clever in the design. I took a lot of time working out what was my call to actions and what was my point of difference, because obviously Tree Hut was one business amongst many. So those are things that you need to think about. You know, you've got to design ads or get editorials where you're slightly different. And I think this is something that a lot of people don't think about either, Nat, is that you don't think like a journalist. So you're opening your business and it's the first time you've got a business launch. You really need to think, how is this newsworthy for the paper? Because they're not going to talk about an opening of a business because every other person is opening their business at some time through that year. You've got to imagine what's going to make it interesting for the reader to read, and what's going to capture that journalist's attention so that they can write about it. So you've really got to take yourself out as the business person and move yourself into a reader position so that you can understand how you can grab that attention, because that's how you can get editorials. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that.
Some really good points, Pete, especially around how marketing can utilise media. So a question to you then, if you had to do Tree Hut?
Yeah, Tree Hut.
Tree Hut again, would you use traditional newspaper media or would you go online?
Yeah, I think I would, to be honest, I would use more online, but there is a component of, I believe, traditional media that you have to do because it's social proof. It's a real business. I find, say if I was going to do a website, you'd have to make sure you had a website. If you were going to have an online business, you need all the components of a real business. So, and that social proof is really important. So I do a bit of both. Do the new business stories in the local paper or in the national paper, and have my branding go out as well. And then use that branding, those ads, to showcase online. So cross-purpose both of them. That's how I'd do it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Obviously, I'm a big group person, love groups, and that's a really good way to sling your businesses in. Find those niche groups. So I would definitely utilize location groups. Get in and find where the parents are, because that's the key, right? Where for a Tree Hut Art School, what are the parents reading? And I found that they were reading the community newspapers.
Yeah, it actually makes sense. It's actually quite surprising how many people read community newspapers.
Yeah.
Some really good points there, P, especially around how I reckon there's a really exciting movement around happening where, hardcore a year ago, everyone was online, and if someone phoned you or wanted to meet up in a group networking situation, you'd be like, what? No, we do it online. I really think there's a huge movement of all of us wanting to connect, which is cool, right? Because marketing's all about people buy from people. That's right. People have to know, like, and trust you. And because there's a lot of bullshit online, I think that people are really wanting to connect, like, into the person. And so for me, when I first started Catapult Your Business, no one who the fudge is Natalie Tolhopf. No one knew who I was.
Yeah.
You know, so I had to come out and hit it fast, and the fastest way that I found was going out and actually connecting with people in person, and that is actually probably still one of my top tips if you are starting out, is to connect.
I mean, that's certainly one of the tips that I would tell all my clients, is to put a networking component in every month. Look, if you are starting your business and you're in your first year, it's not a fact of doing a Facebook page, maybe putting up a Weebly website and go, right, I'm in business.
What do you mean?
Let the money roll in. It doesn't sort of work like that. You actually have to get out there because you need social proof. And social proof is, it's a really weird concept, this social proof, but really you've just got to show that you've got friends and you actually are somebody. And I think that's, Nat, you really superseded that with, getting known in the area. And that's one of the things that I did, like for when I moved to the Hibiscus Coast, I knew no one here. I had lived in Hamilton for a few years while I got my degree. So moving, and I'd moved away earlier. I went to Northcote College and then I went overseas. But so I really had no network on the coast. So I made a really, my first point of call was to network and meet a lot of people. And we were lucky enough, we had a lot of business networking meetings, and I got into community groups so that everyone sort of knew who I was. But that was before I started my business, but it really helped to be able to do that.
Just a question from our audience, actually, just on the topic that we were talking about, how people wanting to connect with people now, getting offline, and it's great from Fee. She's put, social media leaves you quite vulnerable if you're relying solely on it. Do you think it's why people are moving away from it? And I totally think so, Fee, that it's that rushing world, it's that instant world that a lot of us are like. Even I said to you tonight, AP, as we were taking selfies of, hey, we're at the studio, I felt like a bit like a wanker. Like, here I am doing another frickin' selfie. That I think we're all starting to move away from that, and I think you're seeing the underground swell of retail stores coming back, just like you've got, Fee. Like, people are wanting to feel their garments before they put them on, be in front of people, and I think just buying from genuine Kiwi businesses in bricks and mortar. So I really think that making a comeback.
Yeah.
And don't have your eggs in one basket.
No, don't. And that's the other thing you need to think about, online versus traditional. What are you doing online? I have met, I was raving about this. Let's go in close, people. Raving about this. They have businesses, they have a website, and when I say to them, so how much traffic are you driving to your website? And they look at me blankly, and they've been in business 3 years, and they have no idea what their analytics is. So it's really important that you put your analytics in and find out where your traffic's coming from. And I'm just going to keep talking about that. So while Nat gets sorted out for a second. So analytics is really important. Where is your traffic coming from? How much? And SEO, really get to understand what SEO is. You can have 2 protocols. You can get an SEO company to do your SEO for you. Or you could put, if you're a beginner and you don't have a big budget, put in Yoast. If you've got a WordPress, you can put the Yoast in the back of your website, and you can do your own SEO. And that helps people find you. So just putting up a website is not enough, because if you imagine a small community like Hibiscus Coast and everyone, or in Auckland, everyone put up a website, people have got to find you. So you've got to work out what your search terms are. What are people looking for? So you've got to really work on those sort of things as well. And if you are going to have an online business, instead of paying rent in a brick or mortar shop, that amount of money should be going into your online website, making sure it's run fast. I mean, Nat was asking me about bounce rates yesterday. And, do you know, answer the question, everyone jump into the comments, do you know what a good bounce rate is for your website? And do you know how fast your website loads? Do you know what the duration of speed, if your website is not fast, do you know that people click out?
Yeah. Actually, that's a really good point, and I love it when
Sorry,
you
it
get
was
so
a
passionate.
rant.
That's good, because then it means like it's a genuine connection. So while you're thinking about your bounce rates, I really like that fact that go back. I often use yourself as your consumer. Like, how do you buy from people? How do you like to buy? And someone watching tonight, Charmaine, she bought from me the first time she met me in person. So, I'm very good at consistently being everywhere online and chasing you and almost like freaking stalking people. It's just the style of marketing I've got. And it's just that traditional touch point, isn't it? Like 7 to 12 times. In America, I've heard like it's up to 21 touch points. So you've got to really have these traditional marketing points in your business. Now, the actual reason why I brought this up has gone out of my head. I was like, traditional SEO. No, it's got, so how do you buy? Next time you go online, what has actually made you do the buying decision? Now, I think that a lot of you, because this is how I do it, so I'm making huge assumptions, is I will go and see someone's Instagram story, see them as a person, and go, oh my God, I like you as the person, as the unique selling point. I want to give my money to you because of your why, the whole reason why you're in business, if you're a small business, if you've got children. So it's really important that you have a unique selling point, which I'll talk about later, but also how do you buy? Go backwards and see what you can do.
Yeah.
But keep your questions rolling in, peeps. It's really cool having your comments in here, so thank you.
Yeah, so everyone, I want you guys to jump in the comments, tell us what you think. I've had a few people on my page ask me, what is a bounce rate? So,
how many times have you bounced the ball?
Yeah. So those are things that you really need to think, especially when you've got an online business. And the great thing about analytics too is you can actually see where people have gone. If they've gone to one page, where do they go next? So those are things that you really need to look at. That's interesting.
Is it that same preview?
Have you got that? Please hold.
No.
Oh, no.
It's just me. I'm special.
Yeah. Sorry. So the other things we were going to chat about, and if you guys have any questions, jump in, because we want to make sure that this is empowering and gets you motivated. A lot of people are going to be looking at their websites tomorrow to see what their click-throughs are like.
Hey, you tried to tell me today that there's some people out there who still don't have a website, and I'm like, are you kidding?
Yes.
How do you be online and not have somewhere to drive people to?
I know.
And I'm
crazy.
Probably more in particular, like a brick and mortar not having an online presence. Like
there's a lot of brick and mortar businesses that still don't have a website. They don't understand the power of online, and they're still in that mindset that people will search the yellow pages for me. Let's ask all the people on our Facebook pages now. Who is still using yellow pages or the white pages? Do you know what I mean?
Actually, Pete, that's a really good point in terms of, how you can go in groups, like all of our local, like this Hibiscus Coast group, these probably Tauranga, these like big groups everywhere, right, for your regional. And then all it takes is someone to have a bad experience, and all of a sudden you've got this terrible review on a group page. Can we chat about that? Because I think that's marketing, that's slandering, that's like, if you get it right, I have to say, I needed to get my couches cleaned. I'm a real person, I have dirty couches. And I was like, who am I going to use? And I jumped into the Hibiscus Coast page. Boom, they had done a very cool post around their marketing, knew my pain point straight away, and they actually had credibility from the group. But then I did wonder, man, I feel sorry for them if they hadn't had a good response from that page.
Yeah, I think reviews are really important. If you're going to put all your eggs in an online business, no, that's not right. Like, hello. So if you are going to online or offline, it's really important for reviews. And I'll give you a really good example. I was about to book I was booking my flights for overseas, and I thought, there's some really good cheap flights going through Fiji Airlines, and even though my parents said never fly Fiji Airlines, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to go look, and I went to Facebook and looked at the reviews, and the reviews were like from today and yesterday, and they were just going on and on and on and on, and they were all bad. So it was almost like a live feed of bad feedback, and that made me stop, and I went back to New Zealand. So those things you really need to pay attention. Now, Where Fiji Airlines made a little bit mistake, they ignored all their reviews. They didn't engage, they didn't give any customer service, they didn't say, look, I'm really sorry about that, please contact, nothing. So I got one side of the picture. Now I know, with an airline, out of 1,000 people every day flying, you're going to have a few niggly, unhappy people. But if they had gone back and just replied to every single person and I could see the feedback afterwards, that would have given me two sides of the story.
How it's dealt with.
And that's how you should do it in everyday life. You're not as, customer service is really hard, and there's customers that you can never, ever, 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 ever please. Ever. But, so if they do decide to tell you how they feel, you can go back and say, well, I'm sorry, ... we did try so hard to get back to you, and we did this, and this, and this, and I'm sorry at the end of the day, we couldn't meet your expectation. That tells a better story than you
totally
leaving.
Does.
Yeah.
I also believe, though, P, that I think that if you are a personal brand, so if you're a woman in particular, because that's just who I work with, behind your business, whether it's a product or a service, then you still have the choice who you market to, and if you get confident around who your product's for and know the problems that it solves, then you can start to attract the right market, so that you don't ever have to worry about the ever problem, because you're attracting to you the right people all of the time. And that just comes with a little bit of cocky confidence, really, to be able to say, you know what, this is who I'm here for, this is who I'm not here for, and I call it a bit of attraction and repelling system, where I'm like, hey, this is who I am. If you don't like it, you're going to have to get off the bus, because I'm driving it and you've chosen to hop on.
That's right.
I've got a really cool question here, and I think this is really awesome. Is a beautiful, my amazing cleaner, who's actually an epic artist, Chrissy. She does a lot of markets, right?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Right? She does these really cool power puzzles. Go check it out. She doesn't have a website, and she's like, Nat, I don't have a website. She goes to markets, so she doesn't actually sell online yet. People come and see her stuff. So what are we going to help her with? How can we help her in the sense of, I don't have the funds, it's scary, I don't know how to start?
I think the question is, more importantly, is what is your long-time
works.
Goals in your business? What are you hoping to achieve in the future? So, look, money is tight, especially when you're doing a product-type business and you're an artist. A website, people are quite searchable, and it doesn't cost you much to do a website from the beginning, so you can sort of grow in. The first thing I did was I used a Weebly, and I used Weebly for Treeheart for probably 3 years before I had enough money to then get a WordPress. And it costs you your domain name every year, and then and it's quite good. It's like drop, and it looks real professional. It's a good way to drive people, especially if you're an art and they want to see very visuals. But think about what your long-term goal is, where you plan to go. Do you plan to, have products? Because if you start, Matt's smiling at me.
Hello.
Think about all the traffic you can drive. So if you imagine it like this, if you had a website online and Google is recognizing that website constantly every year, it's telling the story to Google. I'm a business. Every year it's going constantly to that website. So you have more standing in Google search over 3 or 4 years, even though it's a light website, than if you started to do a website 5 years down the track. Does that sort of does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think it's really good advice for people who maybe are in that craft space, or just in that space where they're doing a lot of selling at markets and they're not online presence, and they're scared. Because I work with the mindset over frickin' strategy, because it trumps the shit out of strategy if you're confident, right? I always think of it like when I was pregnant, I was terrified of giving birth. That's such a paradox, because how else is the baby coming out? Stay with me. And the point of it is, Chrissy's scared to get a website. But Chrissy, you have to let all the business people who are ahead of you, who do have websites, be your proof and confidence that you're going to be okay. There's nothing to fear, and everything's going to be okay. Because people have gone before you and done it.
Yeah.
And that's why I did that really weird analogy, because sometimes that's really cool.
And it doesn't have to be full on. It could be 2 pages, an about me with some of your products on. And it's just a good way to send people there. And you could maybe do a blog. I mean, with the Treeheart website, you know, that's where I utilized the blog and used SEO. So I wrote about the products and the, you know, and the classes we did and what the children did. So I built a really good story around my business. And then you use social media as well. I think it's important these days, if you're not having a brick and mortar, you put that brick and mortar on a website, because social media is just one component. It's not everything. Not everyone is...
What do you mean? I've spent all day scrolling.
No, not everyone's on social media. I know, crazy. But, you know...
What are y'all doing?
Where do people search? Where's the first place you go to? When you want to know something, where do you go? Do you go to Facebook?
I'm a Facebooker.
Or do
Who goes to
you
Facebook?
go to Google?
Oh, okay. I asked Google a question. How to contour my face. How to contour my face for TV tonight. However, if I know I'm looking for a specific cafe or something, I will go to Facebook and look for them straight away.
Yeah.
Actually, I need to interrupt the broadcast. This is very, very important, because someone has asked about my lipstick and my earrings tonight. So
really?
I don't know where these earrings are from, Jess. These were actually gifted to me from the beautiful Monique Doy, because she said that I would suit long earrings, hence why I'm wearing them all the time.
They are very cute.
And my lipstick is from VIP Me. She has a magma red is what I'm wearing tonight.
And I, tonight, have my earrings. They're Harry Potter earrings. They're invisible. They're from the Invisible Cloak. Can you see them? No, you can't.
Hey, so Chrissy said, thank you so much. Where's the best place to start? She's got a Wix page, but it's not a buy from site.
Yeah, so this is something you're going to have to think about. Are you looking at... Hello. Are you looking... you know, maybe it's I want to say Spotify, but I know Shopify. You know, where you put that component in. I think when I did a Weebly, there was a shop component on there, and I would sell stuff on there and use PayPal. And don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
Make it real simple. You know, there's components there that you can put a shop on, attach your PayPal account or Stripe, and just make it very simple. You don't have to, I've known businesses who have spent, 5-10 grand on a website. 3 years later, it's obsolete because the technology changes so much. So in the beginning, just get one up and just work with that. People are quite forgiving.
Yeah.
As long as all your links work and your photos are good, because you've got a product and you're an artist, do a free website, but really spend the time on your photography and your design.
Pete, do you have any questions from your audience? Otherwise, I'd love to ask you a question.
Oh, I have a few. I've got Donna, who's online, who's like, do bounce rate differ? Do bounce rates differ for different types of products? It really depends if they're on the same page. It really does depend. I need more context for that.
Yeah.
Because
it's broad subjects, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I told you last week, or the week before, about, one of my clients was so stoked that he got tons of traffic to his website. And when I looked at the analytics, it was not his target market, not in the right country. And it's because he had a term on that page, which was quite dodgy. In different countries, he was getting a lot of older men going to the page.
Mine's happening to a client of mine at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, that's... Okay.
Yeah, so that's why analytics is really important, and it's free. You just connect it and it's free. So it helps you, especially if you want a business for a long term. So you can go in every month. What marketing worked? Where did my clicks come from? Did my traditional media work? Do you know what I mean? What links are linking to my website? It gives you a really nice overview.
So before I ask you that question, I just want to talk to Shannon, who just put in a comment here about it took me a while to pull up my ignorance pants and say, no, I want to work with these people and do this and not play the I'm going to do everything game. And I think it's a really good point, Shannon, because when you first start out in business, you're like, yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you're this jack of frickin' trades and you're the master of nothing. But of course, you're trying to do that because you're trying to get your name out there.
Yep.
You're trying to, like, you know, pay your bills. I
Yeah.
tell you what really grew my business super, super fast was deciding to repel as many people as I could so that I could just be me all the time, to bring my unique selling point to my business. Because business coaching is fierce. It's a fierce space to be in Auckland and New Zealand, in the world, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, what I teach is fundamentally the same what everyone else teaches, but it's me. You're buying me, the coach, not my coaching. And so as soon as I understood that I could just decide who I wanted to work with and what I wanted to share with them, marketing became easier. I knew where everyone hung out because I knew who I wanted to work with. So if you can do anything from me tonight and take away anything from me tonight, is just to intimately know your audience so well that when you email them, they go, like I had a client today, bless her, that frickin' email you sent to your database, was that about me? Because I was like, that was so in my head. I was like, no, that's because all of my clients, you're all the same. So that's the kind of feedback that you want to be getting, right?
I didn't open that email. I saw it came in and I was like, yeah, I'm not looking at that one. No, but I think that's totally right. You know, why are you in business? One of the earliest lessons I learned was from, my business coach way in the beginning was, why are you in business? And what value, because cleaning my house was a real issue for me. I'm not a cleaner. I'm a doer. I'm a creative, and I would spend all weekend cleaning my house. It wasn't that big, but I couldn't do it. So I invested the money to get a cleaner, and that really taught me the exchange of money and the exchange of value. So when it was time to get a VA, oh my gosh, it was
such so on trend right now, VA.
A VA, and I just like to say my VA is the best.
Who introduced you to your amazing VA?
I don't know. I'm not going to name my VA because I don't want anyone else to know about her. But that's probably the best investment I've made for my business, because it's just taken so much off me, and it's really good. It means I can play and be creative and
bloody good
fabulous.
Bloody good point, delegation, because the beautiful Amanda from Lovely Souls just jumped on now and said that delegation to the experts was one of the best tips I gave her when we were coaching. Yeah. And it's so true, right? We've all come from jobs. And most of the people who I attract, and probably you too, P, were managers, leaders, as high as they could in their jobs. And we all had people. We all had peoples and staff helping us. Peoples. That's not
peoples.
Peoples. And so when you come into business, right, it's you and or your business partner, and that's it. And so, that's the best thing is to, if I reckon, delegate out some of those big marketing things, because you can't know. How can you know? So... yeah. Go you guys for delegation.
And, just to swing back into traditional media, one of the best things you could do is, if you are looking at doing advertising in newspapers and stuff, really do your research. If you're not going to want to hire someone to give you advice on how to grab people's attention in the newspapers and magazines and stuff, really look and study different ads. How much text do you put in an ad? How can you grab someone's attention? And one of the most important things, what is your call to action? I mean, is this a branding ad? Is this an event ad? Or are you trying to sell something? So make sure you think about those when you put those in your ads. And the other thing you really need to think about is, how are you going to track that people have seen your ad? Working in the newspaper, I've had people say to me, my ads aren't working. Well, have you asked every single customer that's come into the store and on the phone, or who's contacted you 6 months later? No. Then how do you know? Just because you don't know. I mean, in my experience, I've had people mention my ad 5, 6, 7 years later.
Yeah.
Who have come in through my ad that happened ages ago. So don't think it's not working just because someone's not ringing you going, I just saw your ad. Because people don't do that. They don't do that. Unless you've got a really good offer. Like we had an ice cream store that did this really cool offer, and he freaked out because pretty much thousands and thousands and thousands of people cut the thing out and went and got a free ice cream.
Oh, well, if it's a free ice cream, I'm there.
Yeah. So think about, call to actions. What are you offering them, to get the most value out of your ad, and what's the second ad going to be?
Hey, so Pete, you're a big traditional media person, a traditional marketing person, specifically on media.
Yes.
And I've only just started bringing media into my business after, actually, I was contacted by a PR person, Christine from Zola's Media, and she said, "You're doing some freaking cool shit, Nat. Why are you not jumping on the PR?" I'm like, public relations is for huge companies. Like, what do you mean PR? And she really helped me see traditional media, like printed media, and how important that is for credibility, because that kind of media then goes on to like stuff. So a Google again. So, we think of printed media as just a magazine, but they also have online, which is cool, right? Because they've gone into mix. So media, I think, is something really to get into your business as soon as you can. The local editors and journalists are always looking for some good shit round. Yep. And you've got to go out there and tell them about it. My question for you was, right, so Tree Hut was built mainly on traditional marketing. Social Soup, or Pauline Stockhausen, as you are now, was all what? Online?
I can't say it was all online. I have to say it was a lot of things that I was working at all different times. So I use traditional, PR media as well, having stories. I mean, that's it. Look, you've touched on a really good point that, doing traditional media, they have online. So if you imagine, if you Googled Pauline Stockhausen, my website and my Facebook aren't the only things that come up. Every single...
I'm just going to go Google myself, excuse me.
The 45 pages that are on my name... Just saying. I mean, 145 pages. No. So, it's all the stories that I've done over the years have been accumulating. So that tells a story. So you've got to remember that as well, because everyone's putting their papers online, and they're searchable and they're linkable. So I think it's important to do a lot of different things, work out your marketing plan, do a little bit of radio, because it tells the whole story and it gives your business credibility. But you're right, people are always looking for stories, and it's really important when you're thinking about it to think about the different angles. I mean, what can you sell to a journalist that's really a great thing about your business that's going to get them excited to think, I want to write a story about this person. Yeah. And, and it might not work once. That doesn't mean it's over.
You got to keep knocking.
I think I'm yelling.
You're not. Good.
You've got to keep doing it. Look at different angles. And, if you can afford a PR agent, then do it. But, you don't want to do... I think you just have to put it in your plan every year that you've got to try different things throughout the year. If you can get... My goal is usually if I can get in the paper for an editorial 3 times a year, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
If I can get, on radio quite a bit, then I'm happy. Once a month was sort of my goal. Once a month on the radio article. I do a lot of columns now. I prefer to write a column, so I write for 3 publications, and that's about all I do.
That's a very cool point. Someone just asked a question. What do I think of Neighbourly? You know how there's that Neighbourly kind of online thing? Like, I always have to go back to, where the fudge are your audience?
What was the
question? Are they on Neighbourly? Are they there? So always ask yourself, shall I be in that group? Well, are your audience there, and are they going to be watching it? Is it a good touch point to be in Neighbourly? Do you know Neighbourly?
Yes.
So I'm not a huge...
It depends who your target audience. Neighbourly is growing for a community.
Yeah.
If you are brick and mortar in a community that a lot of people on Neighbourly, I mean, I think it's growing. I don't think it's something you should dismiss, because early adopters, people who are on stuff earlier and get some traction that way. But yeah, it is competing with Facebook, and at the end of the day, what are people doing? What are they rolling out of bed doing? Are they jumping on Neighbourly, or are they jumping on Facebook, or are they jumping on Instagram? So you've got to really figure out where your audience is.
I just want to talk into a couple of points there, because some of these points are really, really cool. So for me though, business is fun, and you can experiment, right? You've got to be prepared to experiment what works for your product and service, but fundamentally what works for you as the person driving this whole thing, right? That's why I'm that believer, and you've got to find your consistency through what you love. So the point of this is there are some really proven things out there. Facebook advertising works. If you can sort out a very simple Facebook funnel where you are going to your target market and saying, this is how you're feeling right now, how would it like to feel this, or this product can do this, they come over to your website and they buy, right? And then you retarget them. There's some very proven marketing tips out there that I think if you're not doing in your business and you're online, I wouldn't care about places like Neighbourly or going into the newspapers just yet until if you're fundamentally online and you can't get those basics right, you need to stay in there and finish building those bridges, because otherwise all you're doing is opening up new frickin' projects that you're going to get overwhelmed at. So you've got to stay to traditional online methods. How's that for frickin' mixing it up? Yeah. That there's some real business basics when you're online, and you've got to do those first fundamentally. Get those right. It's just like playing tennis. I don't know why I get these analogies. Like you've got to get your... They reckon that forehand is the hardest swing as opposed to the backhand. But you've got to get your swings right before you start doing frickin' anything else.
Yeah, that's right.
Why I come
so we've had quite a few... sorry, I just opened up my...
you got lots of questions.
I got lots of questions because I was in my live on a different page, not on... and I just realised there's tons of people on there. So I've had quite a few people... have mentioned about Google Analytics. Love the fact that Rachel GB's jumped on and said Google Analytics is amazing. And not to forget Facebook Insights. Now that is really important. Looking at your insights on Facebook is something that you need to get really familiar with. And this is something I feel, look, I get it in two camps about it. But as a business owner, you should know how much people, is that English? You should know, we're going to serious now because I'm going one-on-one. You should know, intimately your Google Analytics, how much traffic, how much, if you did any marketing, like say you did an email newsletter, how many people clicked through from what you did? Facebook, how many people clicked through on your Bitly links? There's all these little things that you should know so that you can sit down and plan the next year. Plan the next 6 months, because you played around and you know what works. What sort of ads worked in your last campaign? Are you going to do the same ads, or are you going to be a bit more creative and change things up? There's all these things that you need to think about, and I think it's important as the business owner to really be across that, because at the end of the day, this is your business, and analytics and statistics, as hard it is to understand, and I am not a maths person, I've had to really, really get familiar with it so that I can plan my advertising. There's just not enough excuse to be like, I don't understand, I'm not just going to look into it, because then what's the point of doing marketing if you're not going to find out what your return of investment is? I think you should really plan that. Donna has just also jumped on and said Weebly is good. She used Weebly and now she has a New Zealand-based website. We've had Daryl Brown come on and he said, can you do it with free websites effectively? Yes, you can. And he's also asked, what is the best way to grow your customer reach from scratch? The best way is, if you're in a particular location, is really get to know business owners in the community. And one of the things that I did when I started my social media business is, because I had nothing to fall back on, it was really like, well, I'm good at social, I love it. I did a lot of stuff for free in the beginning to up my skills, because it was something that I wanted proof that I could do it, more for myself, but for my clients. So I did quite a few free things. And then I got to a point where I was satisfied with myself that this works, I can do it, I'm capable, before I started charging people.
It's actually really cool, because even though we're talking marketing, for me, confidence sells. I'm only going to sell some good stuff as much as I've got the conviction and energy behind it, right? So I think even for Daryl, if I was to start again, it's all freaking hindsight though, right? You have to go on a business journey. Right. There's no freaking way that you can get there shorter. Do you know what I mean? I remember when I first started out, with this business coaching that I've got. And, I've been lucky enough to have some incredible people around me and say, hey, this is what you need to do now. This is the strategy.
Yeah.
And I just didn't have the confidence to go and execute the strategy because the mindset came overplayed with me. So if I can help anyone going forward, it would be to fully understand, intimately know who your client is, but most importantly, their problem and how you solve it, and then start believing the compliments that you are doing that, because it's the confidence that helps you know what to market. It's the confidence that helps you then take the marketing and convert it into a sale. That's a whole other freaking show. Selling. So for me, it really is you fully understanding how you solve a problem, and then approaching people to say, hey, the kids have gone back to school. Are you feeling a little bit overwhelmed because you haven't been putting yourself first? Someone will be like, well, how did you know that? Well, because I know you, and I've got a problem. I've got a solution for you. So for me, it always goes back to business basics. Know your customer and how you solve their problem.
Yeah, and I think it's be thirsty and curious for knowledge. There's nothing out there in the world that is not searchable in Google, I have to say. That confidence is really important. I remember very clearly being in a meeting a few years ago, and the client was like, I want to do this, this, and this. I'm like, absolutely, I can do that. And then and they're like, right, let's start. And I went home and then would have to research it and teach myself how to do it. So I think I've done that with all my sort of, with my design and photography. I've self-taught myself. I've learned that I can actually teach myself to do that sort of stuff. So,
hey, you actually just made me think of something. You know how you're talking about we must measure. You've got to measure your analytics. You've got to measure your opt-in rates. And I'm a real big fan of, and then what, right? And I think also something else that I've learned is it's a numbers game, right? So there's some big freaking players out there, like some huge American players, Anyway, there's an Australian coach that I follow, and she shared this really cool information. It's really helpful, so I hope it's going to help you guys. That she had one of her lists was 80,000, and she thought it was dead. 80,000, I know, I'm still like, whoa. And so she did this big email campaign, and she converted 2%.
Oh, that's good.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. However, if you've only got 10 fucking people, and you go, I suck, I only converted one, you've actually got really good conversion rates. So we often can look at our stuff and go, I'm no good because I'm not, I don't have the numbers. So it really is getting eyes on your stuff, traditional touching all the time, but being at the right place at the right time in front of the right people. I'm so ranting.
Well, I think you've touched on another good point is you just got to be consistent. We've talked about this. It's just consistently putting stuff out and doing your thing, because everything tells a story, and that's the thing. You might think you're concentrating on this and this is the way you are, but people are catching little bits. Like, well, let's be honest. I didn't feel our last week's show was very good. I felt, I wasn't organised enough, and I really wished I did a bit more of this than this. But the feedback I got was overwhelming. Like, everyone loved the show last week. Like, they were just like, it was so good, it was awesome. And I was like,
thanks,
really?
guys.
And it's hit over 5,000 views, and still I was like, well, because so even when you're always sort of cutting yourself a little bit, I'm always trying to be better than I was before. So, and that goes to the thing, we're always talking about stop looking at other people's, highlight reels, and, understand, the things that, Nat and I had to go to get to the show tonight was a lot of, so that we could
do
sit
that
down.
again. Do it like it's on replay.
Yeah. So it's the same with your marketing. Everything is just be consistent, because if you don't plan it out, and both of us are very, I don't know, off the cuff a lot of the time, and I'm a very big winger. But I've got very clear on knowing that my marketing, I've got to do some sort of marketing, traditional every month. That's just in my plan. What is that going to be? And then I work towards it, because then you get to the end of the year and you've done nothing and you're like, oh, I spent, why didn't I do this, or why didn't I do this? So it's really thinking ahead and putting that budget aside. How much are you going to spend on Facebook
talk about
ads?
spend P, because it's so important. Would you agree that if you're in business, you actually need to be able to invest in marketing? Like, I wouldn't be where I would be if I hadn't put money into getting help from coaches, putting it into marketing, putting it into advertising. Like, seriously, it's about one of the commitments that if you're in business, you've got to be committed to spend money.
Because no one buys from a secret. I mean, how are people going to know about you if you don't? If you just, Facebook obviously is a little bit harder to get a little bit, it's not like the old days 5 years ago. You put a post out and the whole world saw. The algorithm has changed. You do have to put money. So what is that? Make sure you're putting your money in the right place. I definitely, if you're starting out a business, first 3 years, I always tell my clients, even if you've only got $100 a month to do Facebook advertising, it's better than nothing. So let's, start building a story and start driving that traffic. If you look, retargeting on Facebook is like amazing. If you just did $100 a month and you constantly are building, that's going to be better than doing nothing.
I'd love to know what you guys have taken away from the show tonight, because we've just said some awesome stuff.
Yeah.
But I'd really love to know what you guys have thought of some of the stuff. I really want you guys to take away that whole thing I said about, people with 80,000 people on their list are still only converting 2%. So frickin' take it easy on yourself.
Yeah.
You're probably doing a bloody good job, and yet you're thinking that you have to go and convert everyone. So.
Who's still out there? Say hello. We've got 10 minutes, so we got some questions. Oh, questions.
Yes.
I did have, so people can send in questions who can't come to the show. So I'm just looking at my Trello board.
We're so professional.
So professional. So we had a question from Katrina Thomas. Now she's from Sydney. It sort of ties into her business, but she asked us, I've just started my business. Should I bother with a CRM? And if yes, what shall I use? Now, this is something that I found, I didn't use it in the beginning of my business, and I really wished I was, because I've got a short-term memory, I can't remember.
What was your name?
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Nat turns up to my house and I'm like, hello. But I do, like I if you're not in my circle, I sort of, gone. So a CRM is really important. If you don't know what a CRM is, it's a customer relation management tool. I'm not sure if that's the right term, but it means that every person you talk to, you can put it in, I'm going to say a spreadsheet, but it's not a spreadsheet. You put it in and document, I talked to John on this day, we discussed this, he said catch up in April, or not interested, but do a follow-up. So one of the things I learned really early on in my business is if I'm trying to bring in money, I do the traditional marketing where, you follow up networks and stuff and business cards, you go to networking meetings and exchange business cards. Put it all in the CRM, a little conversation about what you guys talked about, because that will help you when you send them an email. Hey Janice, remember we met at blah, blah, blah? I don't know where. I didn't even know it, Janice. Hey Janice. Oh, I've been watching Friends. Janice.
And she's got that laugh.
Yeah. No, that's not it. Oh my God, you know what I mean. Anyway, so I would put little things that would remind me what her business is, what we talked about, so that I could go back 6 months later and check up on her. How's it going on Facebook? And I would check out, I'd check out what she was doing on her Facebook, and then I'd send her free information, and 6 months later she'd be a client. So a CRM, that was a long way to get around CRM.
No, it was good.
I think the sooner you get into those habits, because it helps you later.
Yeah, habits. I love that habit.
Habits, yes.
I just want to add into that a little bit of a tip.
Yes.
Around, if anyone who knows me, another strategy that has made me so successful is that I'm annoyingly consistent. I'm that friend who's always on time, probably before time. Yep. But I'm consistent. It doesn't matter where I'm at. Even when my face paralyzed, you remember that? You can still see. Anyway, I'd still show up. It's just the consistency, right? It's that habit. So that was good, P, about that, and getting some of those systems set up at the beginning. But something really simple, because guys know I like to keep things simple, is a really good marketing tool to use is the 3-2-1. Every day, talk to 3 people. Now, how easy is that when you've got an online world?
Yep.
So you could follow someone up. You could start a conversation. Someone actually, while we're here tonight, messaged me and hit me up for something. And I was like, go you, because that's marketing. So 3, talk to 3 people. Number 2 is to get out networking or be in groups. So either in person or online, get yourself out into groups. So 2 networking events or 2 groups a week.
Yep.
And number 1 is, go and get yourself an appointment with someone. So it could be like 1 appointment actually a week where it's a sales session, a strategy session. And if you can't do that, maybe have a lunch date with someone who you admire. So you can get some personal development mentoring going. So hopefully that's just a little tip.
Yeah, I think it's really something that you really need to think about, and just, sales. I'm not very good at sales. No, I'm not saying that I'm not. I'm just saying.
I was about to go. I looked at you like, what?
Yeah. If you are in business, you have to be good at sales. So you need to really figure out how to do that, and it ties really closely with marketing.
There's no point in marketing if you are not. Don't you get me started.
I think we probably should do I want everyone to click yes. I want an episode on sales.
Hey, I'd just like to do a shout out for one of our cool people that we collaborate with. And
who?
She does amazing traditional marketing. I mean, she's only just getting into her online stuff now, and she just smashes online traditional out of the park. You have worked with her before to get her online up.
I don't even know who we're talking about.
You do? Yep, you're one of the coaches that we collaborated with.
Fiona. Oh, yeah.
Fiona Clark, if you're watching, babe, you do traditional marketing as a business coach. Amazing. So hands down to you, because I just love what you preach.
I'm really, obviously both of us are business coaches and we're very different, but I definitely think every business owner needs a business coach to help them get to A to B. Whereas Nat and I are very similar in the way that we teach, but I do a lot more social and help for the online. So if you have an online business, then, don't go to Nat, come to me. Oh, sorry. Did that come out loud? No, I think every time you're in a business, I think it's really important to have some sort of business coach. And you have business coaches at different times of your business, Fiona Clark was my first business coach, and what she taught me in the beginning of my business was probably what got me to where I am today, because I still rely on those fundamental things that she told me. I still write down how she told me to write stuff down. She showed me what to do. I still do that today. It's crazy how those things have stuck in my business.
Yeah, but I love that about you, that if you're going to, because we've all had different coaches at different times, but it's about finishing and implementing what you've already learned, and the fingers coming out, because there's still so many people downloading information. Well, you need to go implement the information that you downloaded a freaking year ago. Because, a lot of the stuff is the same. The strategy is the same. You just got to go take the action.
That's right. I love how my clients are scared of me. They're always doing stuff the day before they see me. It's great.
Yeah, so amazing the accountability,
scary. Yeah, accountability.
What?
Anyway,
You're not even scary. Yes, you are.
Not even scary. So we're nearly at the end of our hour, which is amazing. The amount of people that have jumped on, love you. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, that's nice.
I've had heaps of... Yeah. No hugs. Heaps of people private messaging me. I'll get back to you guys later. But I want to talk about next week's show. So next week we are live streaming someone in, and we're kind of excited about it. And we're going to be talking about creativity. Is that right?
How to use creativity in your business, why you need to be freaking creative in your business. And we've got an expert in to show you how you can be creative in business and what it looks like, and how you can implement it in really short snippets in your day, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And plus, we wanted to mix it up. Like, I know that we think they're awesome, but watching us every Wednesday night could possibly get a little bit boring. I'm not saying you're boring. I'm just saying. So we're going to try and get in 20 minutes of the show with a guest, which I think is going to be very, very
cool. Are we going
to
say who the guest is, or are we going to leave it as a surprise?
Yeah, just leave it as a surprise, I reckon.
Leave it as a surprise. Not many surprises left in the world today. So, we're going to leave it as a surprise. Hey, I want to, just quickly thank everyone to coming on board.
And we need to thank Hideaway Studios, Andy, who's in the studio with it. Hideaway
That's not
Studios.
what I was going to say, but yes, no. Our producer, Andy, is amazing. I love it how we, actually I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, that would be funny.
You know
No.
exactly what I was going to
Yes.
say. Yeah, so we're great to have a great studio, and so many people are asking us where our studio is. We're not telling you because it says Hideaway Studios. It's only for awesome people. But also, I want to just mention that my Rebels Mastermind, the doors are about to close. So if you need accountability in your business, this is an online program where I guide you through and you know,
Whip your ass.
yeah, to get you to do stuff. So online stuff for your website, online stuff for your Facebook page, and making sure you're doing marketing and PR. It is $198 a month, and if you private message me, you can get in, and I'll send you the link. I'll put the link in below, but yeah, the doors are about to close, so I'm kind of excited about that.
I am doing traditional print. I've got some, if you guys have seen, I took a whole lot of my marketing ideas, my online and traditional marketing ideas, and I put them into 52 ways to kick your butt. So they're 52 ways to take imperfect action in your business, and they're actually printed cards, like the size of an actual playing card, that you can pull out and have in front of you to, you know, get you going.
I hate to say this, but I use her cards all the time. They sit on my desk, and sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm like, I should be doing something. And then I shuffle them.
Shuffle a card.
Yeah, and I pull them out. It's scary how many times I use them. So it's really good. They're really good at keeping you thinking outside the square, especially when you get stagnant in things in business. All right, we're exactly on time. So it was awesome having you.
Thank you, guys. It was awesome. Thank you. Nice show. Thanks, P.
Yeah. All right, we're closing off. See you guys later. Bye-bye.
Is this how the Queen does it? I feel like we need some exit music.
Do-do-do-do-do.